What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. Welcome to a brand new exciting video. Now today you join me on this beautiful sunny day with two very exciting cars. So we're doing a comparison between the 6th and the 7th generation VW Polo GTI. Now both cars are behind me right now, as you can see, and they're looking ever so cool. So let's tackle some of the differences and see what these two cars are all about. Let's get into it. Now, the Polo GTI is a very exciting car, given that it offers pretty much the same thrills as the Golf GTI, but for significantly less money. So when this 6th generation first came out, I believe this is where people started giving the Polo GTI attention. Previously or prior to this generation, I felt like the Polo GTI was pretty much under the radar. But after this one, people started realizing that this thing actually means business. Now, the two cars look significantly different. The newer generation is vastly improved. It looks bigger in my eyes and it looks more aggressive, but don't slip on this thing because it's still pretty much an insane machine. Now, if we check out the exterior, both cars have LED headlights. I believe, I don't think they're standard on either cars. I believe they're an optional extra, but this is something you definitely have to go for because it absolutely makes the cars look amazing. Now you can tell there's a different look or design to the newer generation. The headlights look slimmer and more stretched out, whereas on the older generation they look more squared off in a way. But both cars feature daytime running lights. As you can see, this one has daytime running lights, and there is also a daytime running light strip right here. So traditional GTI, you have a GTI badge on the grille, complemented by a red line that runs across the headlights and the entirety of the grille. Same applies to the older car. As you can see, the red bar, this is a GTI thing. The same thing goes for the Golf GTI. So red is a very GTI themed color. So this one has, I believe these are the upgraded rims actually. These are the 18-inch rims and they look fabulous. I believe these ones come with a certain package. Not sure what the package is, I can't quite remember, but these are the upgraded rims on this particular newer generation. But you have red brake calipers. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the older one features 17-inch rims, but they are multi-spoke rims. They also look phenomenal, also complemented with red brake calipers. Like I said, red is a very GTI-esque color. On both cars, the wheels are actually two-tone, so you have silver and black on the rims. So another GTI themed thing is on the side, you have this little GTI badge right there, which is a pretty neat touch. Same goes for the older generation. So overall, I think with looks, Both cars look amazing. I think let's just touch upon the rear before we conclude when it comes to exterior looks. So you have a kind of roof spoiler going on right here. Both cars have these twin mounted tailpipes. Same goes for the newer one. So this is a very interesting comparison because I have to walk between two cars back and forth. So twin pipes, as you can see again here, GTI badge right there. This one is in red though. One thing I realized is that the GTI badges on this one are red, whereas on the older one they are only chrome. So as you can see, it's chrome. Same goes for the one that's on the grille. So overall the looks, I think I would give it to the newer one because it looks more aggressive with all these sharp creases everywhere. If you look at the body lines between the two cars, the newer one has a lot of body creases on the side of the car, on the bonnet and all, whereas this one is more smooth. But in a way, that's something that some of you guys may prefer because this one is much more clean looking, whereas that one has too many lines going on to add to the aggression. So let's check out the interior, starting with the new one. So one cool thing about the new one is that you can get it with digital dials. So as you can see, this one is spec'd with the digital dials, and these are really high resolution. Oh, the lighting is quite bad, but yeah, there we go. So digital dials. If I think let me just start it so that you can see it properly. So yep, there you have your digital dials, and you can change the view. You can make the view an entire navigation map, have different sorts of things showing on the driver cluster. So you also have a bigger upgraded infotainment screen right there. You can do all sorts of things like your media, navigation, check your fuel consumption, and all those kinds of things. Like you can do a lot right here, change a lot of settings and whatnot. Now the interior is pretty much more funky in the newer one than the older one. You have this red color here on the dashboard, although that's an optional extra. You can opt not to have that. You have keyless start, keyless entry, all the new jazz in the new one, which you don't get in the older one. The older one, it's a more traditional way of starting the car where you slot in the key. But these are some of the things that you expect on the newer car. One other thing is that you have a mode selector in the newer one. So the button right there for your mode selector, your eco, normal, sport and individual, where you can personalize the settings to your own liking and all. Steering wheel is the same as in the older one. We'll jump into the older one as well to check it out. You have your park assist and automatic parking buttons right there. This is the button for engine start stop and all. The seats are also improved. When it comes to seats, I'll give it to the new one because I just prefer these ones. They just look more sportier with this kind of integrated headrest. It's not integrated, it's just lowered down, but in this form it looks more neat, it looks cool. They're all leather and all, but it's an upgraded package. Standard, they come as fabric. So interior on the new one looks really cool. Right now it might seem like I'm doing some kind of a competition between the two cars to see which one is better, but that's not really what I'm doing. Yeah, but let's jump into the older one. I have to turn this one off and then run because I want this video to be a one take. So one single video, I think. Let's jump into the new one. So interior on the new one. One thing I like about the new one is that the seats are half leather, half Alcantara, and Alcantara is always cool. As you can see, the middle bit is all Alcantara. And yeah, it's still pretty much mint. Oh, you have GTI on the door, so not sure if the same applies to the new one, but I love badged door sills. It's just something I prefer. So more traditional analog dials in here. They're cool. Like some people prefer analog, some people prefer the digital. So if you prefer digitals, you'd have to go for the new one because that's the only one where you can spec the digital. But this one is pretty much well equipped because you have stuff like heated seats, that's impressive. That's really cool. You have a much smaller infotainment screen. Understandable because this is an older car, but it's still impressive because it has Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. The new one also has, but given that this is 2017, it's pretty impressive. All the new gizmos that you need, you pretty much find in here. But when it comes to quality and the overall styling of the interior, I'd have to give it to the new one because it just looks a little more interesting, a little more clean. But trust me, I'm not bashing this car, because if there's one area where this car is the champion, we'll get into that. Not now, we'll get into that. The steering wheel is the same, like I already mentioned, same design, same everything. I love the steering wheel, looks really clean. But yeah, that's pretty much the interior in this one. It's a little bit dark because this one doesn't have the red touches and all, but that's something that most people will most likely prefer. But you still have the DSG lever, with the exception of your mode selector buttons and whatever. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it with the interiors. I think right now let's listen to how they sound and get to the driving bit. Guys, you join me inside the 6th generation Polo GTI, so the older one. So I've driven both cars before, but my memory of how they drive is quite faint right now because it was quite a while ago. But the aim is to see if there's any difference. So performance stats. This one has the older version of the EA888, so it's a 1.8 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder motor pushing 141 kilowatts and 320 newton meters of torque. Those numbers are pretty solid because these things are quite light. They're about 1.3 tons thereabout. That's quite light. Driving normally, relaxing, no drama at all. Very comfortable, very quiet. The suspension is well dampened, although you do feel some vibrations and all. Nothing hectic, just cool. And yeah, other than that, the performance side of things, using the gear lever, you just flick it back. The car is in sport and you can do all your funny business and all. Or if you prefer, you can move it to the left. That way you engage manual and you can shift, you can take control of the gears yourself. So 6-speed dual clutch transmission, famous VW DSG transmission, phenomenal shifting transmission. The shifts are pretty much seamless, you don't feel them at all. And yeah, I think performance wise, it's just drop down a few gears, 4th, go down to 3rd. It's pretty quick, it's pretty fast. I mean, the GTI name right now is well established, and these things are not popular for no reason really, because they are pretty nippy. The shifts are a little bit aggressive. You get a little bit of a punch. That's just the thing with dual clutch transmissions. That's one thing I like about them. But yeah, I think I'm not gonna conclude now. I'll conclude when we're in the new one. But this car is a huge bargain because right now they are priced at around, I think, 270, 280 thereabout, which is like, it's really, for what you're getting, it's a huge bargain, because this thing is just, like I already mentioned, in terms of thrills, it offers pretty much the same thrills as like your Golf GTIs and all. So it's a huge bargain. That's one thing I like about these things. The new ones are pretty expensive, especially because now you have to consider COVID inflation. So I've seen there's some that go well over 500k, which is insane. It's really insane. So this car, when it comes to value for money, it's absolutely superior. That's one thing I prefer about this one. Guys, you now join me inside the 7th generation Polo GTI, so the new one. So we've just driven the older one. Let's see what the new one is all about. Like always, I prefer driving in manual because I just feel it's much more fun controlling the gears. The two cars sound a little bit different. This one is more high pitch, whereas the older one is a little bit more bassy, but they sound quite interesting. And also this one has burbles when you rev it, and also on what's it called again, when you do downshifts and on the overrun. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. On the overrun it has burbles and stuff, which is always so cool. But performance wise, I haven't touched the numbers. So interesting thing about this one, it has the newer EA 888. So gone is the 1.8, new is the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. So it's a similar motor to the one you find in the likes of the Golf GTI, but it's slightly detuned. So in here it pushes about 200 PS, that's 200 matrix horsepower, which is relatively 192 kilowatts. Torque is the same as the older one at 320 Newton meters. One thing I forgot to touch upon is the acceleration time. So interesting enough, the acceleration time on this one is about 6.7 to 100 kilometers an hour. On the older one, it's 6.8. So this one is 0.1 of a second quicker, which is not a big difference. Top speed is also a difference of about 2 to 1 kilometers per hour. This one does about 237. The older one does 235, which is insignificant in the real world. But this one is much nicer to be inside because of the new gizmos and all. Suspension wise, it's a little bit more comfortable. It does diffuse a lot of the bumps more than the older one, but it's just a smidge difference. It's just the reverse. And also on the upshifts, because the cars have like this pop when you upshift, it's a little bit louder on the older one. Remember, this one being I think 2020 or 2021, between the two, this one has the OPF, so the particulate filter, which does kill off a car's sound, and all those things are really horrible. The older one doesn't have it because it's a thing to do with regulations, so CO2 emissions and whatnot, trying to save the planet. So I think that's why this one sounds a little bit more muted than the older one on pops and all. But other than that, it's really a great car. I think I might even go for this other than say the Golf GTI, because those are really expensive. Those are north of 600k and all. So this one you don't really lose out on much. Slightly less power, but it doesn't really matter. Size wise, they're almost the same. And I think this one is a better valued car than say a Golf GTI. But hey, it's all up to self-preference, I guess. It's really quick. The speed does climb ever so quickly. But yeah, I think that's it for this video, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Just comment down below what you think. Which one do you prefer between the two cars? For me, it's a tough one. Do I really have to decide? I don't know. I think if I had the money to buy the newer one, I would buy the newer one. If I didn't have the money for the newer one, I would still be happy with the older one. I think that's how I'll conclude it. But yeah, that's cheers from me.